Today, we're talking about the Master of Masters, and who really is he? We're going to go over the potential theories of who this could be, and at the end, I'll make my overall conclusion. First off, we have probably the most unlikely theory, and that's Sora as the Master of Masters. Yes, that's Sora. So the first point that a lot of people make is that Sora and the Master of Masters' personalities are very much alike. Both don't take life too seriously, generally reacting with humour and jokes to otherwise serious situations. The next point is the X-Blade/Keyblade. Now we know from the Book of Prophecies that the Master of Masters studied the X-Blade in order to create the Keyblade that we know today. But he locked the X-Blade away, meaning he knew of the power it possessed and still decided to not let greed consume him. And with Sora, he held the X-Blade after defeating Master Xehanort, and he too didn't take the X-Blade for himself. He didn't let the greed of having the most powerful Keyblade in existence overcome him. Also, another point is the speech Sora gave to Master Xehanort about how a real leader knows that fate is beyond his control and accepts that. This mindset of the Keyblade wielder is very similar to the Master of Masters, as he too accepted the fate of the inevitable Keyblade War, even asking his fellow students if they really think they can change the future. Not to mention, both of them have had to do things while knowing the dire consequences. For Sora, he knew by using the power of waking and saving Kairi to return her to Destiny Island that he would no longer return from the world he came from. And for the M.O.M, he had to walk away from his beloved students and watch everything unfold. Both very tough decisions, but they did it nonetheless. Now, if the Master of Masters is Sora, I think more than likely it's an older, twisted version. Maybe someone from a different timeline who came to the darkness, like Riku. I would be very surprised if it was the happy-go-lucky version of Sora. But it would be a cool idea. The person that everyone believes in, the person who saved the world from engulfing in darkness, is actually the one who started it from the beginning. Also, I should mention that the Gazing Eye and Sora's eye are the same colour. Okay, so the next theory is that the Master of Masters is Master Xehanort. Now I know what you're thinking. Didn't Xehanort lose to Sora and then vanish with Master Ericus as forms of their younger self? Yes he did. But this is also the guy that travelled back in time multiple times, met up with older and younger versions of himself, turned his student into a vessel to ultimately form a group where they would fight in the side of darkness and evil. He is the definition of always having a backup plan. And let's not forget, Master Xehanort was handed the Master of Masters Keyblade from his previous master, which means maybe Master Xehanort knew that he would lose to Sora because he knew that his ultimate form, the Master of Masters, would be there in the future. I hope that makes sense. Now the reason that I couldn't see it being Master Xehanort is that the M.O.M is very forward thinking and he doesn't really think of what ifs, whereas Xehanort/Ansem/Xemnas definitely does. His whole objective was to see what would happen if a third Keyblade War would take place. His obsession cost people their friendship, their livelihood, and ultimately, his own life. Now granted, the Master of Masters can see into the future, so that is to be noted. And finally, we have who I believe is the real Master of Masters, is none other than Demyx. Or should I say,
Demyx time!
Now the whole reason why I think it's Demyx is because of who he is as a person. When we first get introduced to Demyx in Kingdom Hearts 2, he's seen talking to Sora and referring to him as Roxas. He then reads off a piece of paper, which implies that the other organisation members didn't see him as a smart member at the time. Later on, Sora even questions if Demyx can fight, to which Demyx retorts and says that he shouldn't judge people on looks, which is exactly why it would make sense for him to be the M.O.M, because they're the complete opposite of one another on the surface. Think about it. If you were Demyx/the Master of Masters, wouldn't you want people to think you're not actually that smart/powerful? Because then, you wouldn't give away your true power. And in Kingdom Hearts 3, Demyx is again judged by his peers for not being quote-unquote smart, but he actually does a really good deed, rebelling against the organisation with Vexen and giving replicas to Lienzo in order to bring back fan-favourite characters like Roxas and Naminé, and bringing back Ansem the Wise to Lienzo, which was a touching moment. Now, if he were the Master of Masters, it would make sense for him to do that, since he can see into the future, and that's exactly who Demyx is. He's not a good guy or a bad guy, he's all about the balance, exactly like the Master of Masters. Oh, and we have to mention the obvious similarities between them, with them both being very charismatic and flamboyant, and I just think it would be cool that someone like Demyx, who is viewed as a low-ranking member of the organisation, who doesn't even own a Keyblade, is actually one of the most powerful beings in Kingdom Hearts. Like Lucio and Xigbar in Kingdom Hearts 3, it would be a massive shock if it was Demyx, even though he is part of an ancient Keyblade legacy. So even if he isn't the M.O.M, maybe there's more to him than meets the eye. But what do you guys think? Do you think Sora is the Master of Masters? Maybe it's King Mickey? Or maybe it's someone completely new? Let me know in the comments below, subscribe, and more importantly, may your heart
your guiding key.